It's hump day here on Splash Play NBA, but we're going to do what we always do to make it a bright and sunny day, even though it's gloomy out there. We're going to look at all the projections and the ownership, going game by game to find the players that I believe the most in, especially compared to some data from Stokastic. We're also see the ownership along the way on that one. We're going to check out some sims for DFS lineups. We're also going to see sims for prop betting from our friends over at Unabated who help us present this show. I say us, like it's me and you. I guess that's the us, but really me. Help me present this show every day. Check them out. Unabated, $30 off with the promo code SPLASH at unabated.com/NBA. But let's get into it here. So this is a fun one. These are the kind of slates for me I love the most. One of my favorite moments in NBA DFS history was one a couple years ago where, I guess now more than a couple years ago, I was doing a stream with my pal Josh Engelman. It was tanking season in the NBA. The Rockets at that point were down to like I would say probably a 10-man roster, but it felt like a 6-7-man roster. One of the guys on their roster looked good to me at that point was a guy named Tim Quarterman. He'd played point guard, had small sample size data that showed decent assist guy, decent usage rate guy, decent fantasy point per minute guy. We're talking about him on the show, and I'm like, this Tim Quarterman guy, if he gets like a few minutes, might be useful. Ended up getting cut before the game. So that was one of the most fun things, one of the most fun memories that my pal Josh Englund and I have doing content was that one, because I probably talked about Tim Quarterman more than anybody in the world to talk about Tim Quarterman, who I believe was last seen in China. Point being, though, is like, there's something to be had for these players or these situations where there's a bunch of star players out because there's still a ball, there's still usage to go around, still rebounds to go around, still assists to go around. So that's why we're going to start going game by game first. We're going to talk about New Orleans, Cleveland up top. So New Orleans, 101.8 implied points. You can see Steven here. Let's head phone with the messy slate. I think it's messy, but I think, and I'd say my projection system in particular, I feel really well equipped for these kind of things because basically what I do is everything that I do is based off the Vegas totals. So that's the same thing as a lot of projection systems out there. But as a result, like I kind of break things down from that Vegas total saying that, okay, it takes this many points and then to this team to get that many points, this many rebounds, this many assists, this many blocks and steals. I don't really account for that the same way, but really just the core stats there. And as a result, like you're going to miss some stuff along the way, like not having Brandon Ingram today, not having Zion, not having McCollum. It's going to throw off like the historical per 100 stats for New Orleans, but generally teams are still going to be around those overall numbers and you just kind of chop them up differently. So that's what we're going to be doing today. A lot of, in particular for this game where situations, particularly for New Orleans, you don't know what this team looks like together because a lot of these guys haven't played together. One of them, Elfrid Payton, I assume is going to be active today, just got signed within the last 24 hours. So it's a weird situation, but I just want to give this caveat because it's really, if you're going to try to understand NBA DFS, getting stuff like this, one of the most important things you could do for yourself, like minutes, rotation stuff, but also just grasping the concept that when players are out, somebody else soaks everything else up. And that's sort of the way this works is like a really key part of it. But knowing who the right guy is and knowing how it sort of works is like the best thing to do. Point being, though, New Orleans, 108.8 implied points. So today, expecting about 34% ownership for Brandon Boston. Right away, I'm getting 63% of him. I mean, he's really the one player who's going to be in this game on the Pelicans side today, besides Elfrid Payton, who's been a legit player in the past, a high usage guy at times in his career. I actually bumped his usage up in a way where I didn't affect his rebound rates on the year, didn't touch his assist rates because I don't want to give him too much of a boost with that many rebounds and assists floating around for the team right now. So kept his rates flat. Did give him a little bit more usage to reflect where he's been in the past when he was on the Clippers, some other stops as well. I think it's really on the Clippers. But Brandon Boston, with all that, I got him at 41.5 fantasy points. Stokastic has him at 36.5. So this is one of those stands for me that I talk about a lot here where please, I encourage you guys when you watch this stream, feel free to default to Stokastic's projection. Always feel free to look at their number and throw mine out. Stuff like yesterday with John Collins, they had him much closer to the projection. I had him way over. But for me, like I like to have those slivers of this is what makes my projection set different. These are the things that I know I put into them. As I mentioned here, it's like knowing what I made in a cake versus knowing what somebody else made in a cake. Their cake might be much better because they're a professional cake. My cake, though, I know it's still got eggs, flour, no jizz. You know, the core things we're looking for when you're making a cake. So for me, got Boston a little bit higher. Brandon Boston will be a priority play for me today. Less so for the field, but still going to be owned a good amount at 33.9% ownership. Javonte Green's the one Pelican here I don't have really getting that big of a boost. I would still have him under a 5x value, of course, knowing how these things work. I'm sure Javonte Green will have the best night of his career today. Usage has been low for him on the year. Assist rate low, doesn't rebound that well. No reason for me to think Javonte Green's going to be a brand new man here with all the runway to get where he needs to go today. So Javonte Green, the non-priority for me on New Orleans. Yves Missi is questionable today, so he's actually an important one to know. If he doesn't play, there's going to be a lot of center minutes to open up. In fact, 27.8. That could mean Daniel Tice getting back to the rotation. Frankly, I think he could still get in the rotation no matter what. But if he were out, you would see more minutes for Carlo Makovic, who's like kind of the 4-5 guy, a little bit more for Trey Jemison as well. So some decent impact if Missy were to be out tonight. It's the first game on the slate, though, so we'll know in advance the slate starting. So that's kind of the main thing here. Daniel Tice is nice. Not so much anymore, but still always been a decent fantasy producer. This year down a little bit, though, 0.8 fantasy points per minute. So Missy, just watch out for his status. If he plays, he looks like an okay play. He'll be one of the least owned parts. And he has flashed some upside recently. There's one game where he kind of actively took away from Brandon Ingram because he's really rim running aggressively. Don't know if he's going to be able to do that against Cleveland, but if he were playing, just being a low owned part of this Pelicans team with nobody left, probably makes him worth the theoretical shot, if not, going out of your way to get him. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl looks important as well. I got him 32%. He's 29% owned by the field. Shocked I didn't get a little bit more, but there's enough values out there besides that. Talking Zaire yesterday. I mean, I talk about Zaire in general. Zaire Williams from the Nets. He wasn't a priority for me yesterday. I'm not sure. Like John Collins is my priority, and Braun. Those are my two splash plays yesterday. Christian Braun and John Collins. And John Collins did not work out. Brown was fine. But yeah, Zaire Williams, I ended up playing in a lineup yesterday, but I don't recall talking about him very much. Anyway, besides that, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, I got to focus on what I'm saying. 34 minutes projected for him today. The rates for him have not been fantastic on the year. 15% usage, one of the better rebounders on the team. Not a great assist rate. That said, he's a pro who spiked before in fantasy, so his price tag works. The projection at 30.1 for me, 27 for Stokastic. Looks good enough here. Dual position eligibility as well at power forward center. For JRE, looks pretty okay to me. Jamal Cain is sort of the big winner here of all these guys being out. He'll also be owned the most. 70% ownership going his way today. Projection-wise, he looks good at $3,800. That said, the ceiling, you could question a little bit, I suppose. I have him projected by a point and change higher than Stokastic does. Kane, an okay shooter on the year, 54.3% true shooting. Not a great producer, but was looking for a shot yesterday pretty aggressively when the game kind of got out of hand. I mean, it got out of hand pretty aggressively. They lost by 40 points. But Jamal Cain, one of those guys, probably gets a lot more wins on the wing as a result of Ingram not being there. So Brandon Boston, I expect to be kind of the lead point guard. Jamal Cain will probably be one of the lead wings. And Green will be out there trying to do something, I guess. Robinson-Earl, more of the lead four for the most part, unless Missy were out. Then you could see Robinson-Earl be the 5 and somebody else could come in, I guess, theoretically. Maybe Makovic at the 4. It could get weird if Missy is out. I really can't project that well because there's no precedent for it with the team so far this year. Trey Jemison is going to be the backup center no matter what. Unless Missy were out, then he might be the starting center. Tice could still get run just because they need to have an adult on the field at this point, on the court. But basically for Tice, wouldn't be shocked to see him get the start out of nowhere, but he has been out of the rotation or has been in the rotation for the last few weeks. Jemison, I would think, would get the majority of the backup center minutes, potentially the starting center minutes if Missy's out. Not a great producer, though, is Jemison on the year, 0.81 fantasy points per minute. But he does rebound an okay clip, kind of I would say a fat guy. Fat guy adjacent, if nothing else, but not one of like the good fat guys where he's like a per minute beast. Like, what's the fucking dude who was on Memphis before? Damn, guys, it's going to bother me to not think of who that is. A guy goes down to the G League a lot, kind of fat, husky dude, but puts up like a lot of double-doubles. There's a lot of players like that. Jemison is not really one of those guys. The big one for me here, Elfrid Payton, not on the DFS slate. You can't play him. I just had to put him in so he would kind of get the projections aligned. Stokastic is giving Elfrid Payton today 22.8 minutes. Basically, without Brandon Boston on the court, there's no point guard. So they had Jalen Noel playing the lead point guard there. Even yesterday, no, it's a different guy. Light-skinned black guy has a name, has a name that's like, I think Lonnie something. I don't know. Might be thinking of Lonnie Baxter from Maryland, but that's not who I'm thinking of. Anyway, Elfrid Payton playing today, theoretically. If he were not playing, there'd be a ton of minutes to go around a point guard. Basically, Noel was playing the lead point guard whenever Brandon Boston wasn't on the court before, including in garbage time yesterday. They had Noel playing the last, basically like the last 10 minutes of that game just to dribble the ball up so they couldn't have Antonio Reeves at point guard, which was kind of odd. Antonio Reeves is playing off ball as kind of a 2, but was really dominating the ball once he got to the half court. So I think they're going to have Elfrid in just to give them another ball handler to literally bring the ball up court. Ingram, too, not being there. They lose another primary ball handler. So Payton, not playable on the slate, but does project for 23.8 fantasy points for me. Antonio Reeves is the key one for me here. So second-round pick from Kentucky. Had to wrap my head around him a little bit more. No, we are not. Please. Not talking. It's not Tony Allen. Antonio Reeves. So he's an interesting player. Had some big spike games in Kentucky. Not great shooting so far. You can see 47% true shooting, which is not a lot of games he's played so far this year. He might have only played yesterday, honestly, but he might have a little bit more than that. For Reeves, though, does go after the ball, does try to attack the rim. A little bit of a turnover machine from what I saw yesterday, but, like that's going to happen sometimes for getting, your first run at real action. I like Antonio Reeves to get him out. He's 3K minimum, shooting guard, small forward, so you get him in a bunch of different spots in your lineup. I'm at 23.2 fantasy points today. Stokastic has him at 18.2. If Elfrid Payton were out, if Elfrid Payton didn't go today, Reeves would get a lot more minutes, and I think would become a play I would jam in every lineup. That said, he's going to be 35% owned, so that kind of surprises me. I thought I would have a little bit of an edge on Reeves, but I have him at 45% in my sim. I think he's potentially going to be one of the better producers here. That is it. Kenneth Lofton Jr., you got it. There we go. Not Lonnie. I was thinking Lofton, so thank you. Mark, if there were a prize to give you, I would give it to you. Oh, there we go. Mitch gets it. I mean, you got it after Mark, but hey, kudos to you guys. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Kenny Lofton Jr., good fucking job. Thank you. Knew we have some basketball dorks out there that would get to the bottom of it. Not fucking Big Body Roddy and Tony Allen. Come on. Big Body Roddy, though, not dissimilar either. So that covers New Orleans, I think. Carlo Makovic, probably the only player here, is not really useful. If Missy were out, I guess you could see Makovic start if they don't want to get Tice back in the rotation. So Makovic could matter. Power forward center, 3K salary. But Makovic is a player to me that hasn't shown a lot. A little bit of a rebounder. Does try to go after blocks a little bit. At a minimum salary, he's in play if he were starting. If he's not starting, I don't think you want to go there. Cleveland on their side. So no Darius Garland on their side today. Basically, that's the main one. Karis LeVert out again as well. So it did update for rates going back to last year for court time without Garland, without LeVert. That said, I still can't get Donovan Mitchell to be projected well. I don't know what the deal is. I feel like one of the battles of me versus my projection system this year, besides Basketball Reference, which I'm going to complain about. I'm going to complain about everywhere I can. Basketball Reference keeps changing things in their columns every day, which is where I pull all my data from to make projections, to have the stats that you see on the screen and all that. They keep adding in new columns where they added in effective field goal percentage into one column, into one data part all of a sudden. Today they added games started as a column into another thing. I don't know what they're doing, if they're trying to stop scrapers or something, but it's really fucking annoying. It took me an hour to refix my sheet to align things back. Point being is in that process this morning, I was double checking my projections. Why am I getting Mitchell slowly? And I can't figure out why it is. I think the biggest issue is that when guys are out in this game, or in general for Cleveland, his usage is high enough. He doesn't actually get more usage when these guys are out. I mean, court time historically, going back to last year, that is, without Garland, without LeVert, Mitchell's played 701 minutes, about 1,500 possessions. He's had 32% usage, a 31% assist rate. So I gave him a higher assist rate. He still only gets to a 38-point projection for me. So I think because of the fact you have decent producers around him, guys like Mobley, guys like Jared Allen. Jared Allen does get a pretty big usage uptick in court time without Garland and without LeVert. So he's one guy I expect to benefit today. But Mitchell, to me, he just doesn't project that well. He's not getting a crazy expected run of minutes here at 31.7. So I don't think Mitchell is as good of a play as he would seem to be. Field seems to agree. 2% expected ownership for Mitchell, a little bit higher than 2 for Mobley. The thing, though, that's kind of tough is that, if this game is competitive somehow, and it'd be really hard because New Orleans is down to nobody. If it were competitive somehow, Mitchell and Mobley should just get whatever they want for the entire game. I'm sure they'll defer somewhat. You kind of think that the Boston players have talked about where it's an easy game. They'll let Peyton Pritchard go off is what they were talking about in that kind of situation. Maybe that's the case for Cleveland. Maybe let Craig Porter get some more shots up. Ty Jerome, who I like, get some more shots up. But I think for these guys, they're probably under-owned because the projections don't work out well, when logically they should be plays that you kind of flock to a little bit because they're they could beat the shit out of the Pelicans if they want to. So Mitchell and Mobley, not guys I'm getting a lot of. I got no Mitchell. I only got 2% Mobley, but I do think they make some amount of sense. And Jared Allen as well. A lot of misses in this game, potentially a lot of rebounds. He could block these dudes pretty aggressively. Steals around the menu for these guys. Like I mentioned, dudes like Antonio Reeves are kind of turnover machines. So it's really easy to imagine these guys being more valuable in the ownership they have right now. The issue is you just kind of have to ignore the projection because, I'm projected well. Stokastic isn't that much better. They are for Mitchell, but not for Mobley. And I'm higher on Jared Allen than they are. So something to keep in mind here. These guys are probably underprojected for what the actual situation is. Flip side, though, Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome, I've gotten 77% of lineups. I'm not sure what's up with the ownership stuff here. Maybe something, I think there's something off with Stokastic's sim data export here. So that's my bad. Craig Porter is not going to be a 0% owned guy. Craig Porter is going to be, I They changed so much. Everybody changes their shit around for no reason, and it throws people like me, innocent me, for a loop. Because he's Craig Porter in some parts and Craig Porter Jr. in others. He's projected for, no, you know what? They just have him for 0% ownership. That's got to be a mistake. All right, so their data is going to update. I'll be on the deeper dive today on Stokastic starting at 5:30, so tune into that if you want to get an update on this one. Craig Porter is going to be, by my guess, 33 to 50% owned for the projection, if I had to think. And I think Ty Jerome as well, 20 to 30 would be my guess. These guys are pretty good values. I have them as better values than Stokastic does, or at least Ty Jerome I do. They actually have Craig Porter for 30.1 fantasy points. These guys should be the chalk on the slate. Ty Jerome, I think, is more likely to step in, get a good amount of run with Darius Garland out. Basically, what happens a lot is Ty Jerome ends up basically playing whatever other guard is out. So if Mitchell's off the court, Ty Jerome kind of fills in for that. Doesn't take the same usage. It ends up being then Garland taking all the usage. But if Garland's out, it ends up being him on the court with Mitchell. Sometimes he's just there watching Mitchell, but then the rest of the time, it should then be, if I had to guess, I think it'll be Ty Jerome and Porter kind of playing the Mitchell and Garland roles when Mitchell himself is off the court for as much time as that is. So Porter, I think, is a valid play. Had the big game yesterday. It's kind of fluky, to be honest, but he is like a productive guy. He can hit some open shots. He does, run, is active, the stuff we kind of look for. These kind of guards. He's not just standing in one spot and getting lucky. So I think for Porter, he's a good play today. I do have him lower than Stokastic, so you can move away from him, but at 3,500, point guard only, a priority play. And Ty Jerome, 32.8 for me, as I've mentioned enough times here. I always have him a little bit higher projected than the other sites out there do because he's been great per minute. In this kind of case, though, 1.13 fantasy points per minute. He's been a great shooter. He adds assists. He adds some usage. Could also add some steals, stuff like that. For Ty, and he'll rip some rebounds too. Probably not as much as other point guards, but still, he'll get a few. So for Ty Jerome, I think that he's a player that would be more of a priority to me than Craig Porter, but I get the salary for Craig Porter, and I think they both can hit today. Tuning in to see Puppet Lindy. I mean, I am doing it with Eric Lindquist today, so if the puppet's going to be broken out, those are the kind of times. And I mean, that was a lot of time on one game here compared to what I normally do, but that's a really important game on the slate, so we'll now try to, I won't say speed run through it, but we'll make up time on the rest of this stuff. Chicago, 115.8 implied points. Milwaukee, 123.8. Chicago side, not a lot for me to love here. Zach LaVine comes up a little bit, got him 9% of the time in my top 150 lineups. Besides that, didn't get much Josh Giddey, didn't get much Jalen Smith. Chicago to me is just a team that right now I'm not with the projections overall. You can see I'm a little bit lighter on Josh Giddey than Stokastic, about 1 point and change. A little bit lighter on Kobe White, about 2. A little bit higher on Zach LaVine because he's been the one guy kind of asserting himself usage-wise, taking the ball a little bit more. But even that, he's not been that great overall. He has had some interesting splits with Patrick Williams off the court, where he's been averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute going back to last year. But I'm not sure what that matters. I didn't put that into his data that reflected today. But it's something to maybe watch out for LaVine, that is his 12% ownership may carry a little bit further than it seems. And besides that, Vooch, not a play for me either. I think there are better center plays on the slate. I love Towns again. I love Şengün again. If you play Giannis at center, that's great as well. Vooch, to me, on these kind of slates, not one I would go to. And Milwaukee, him playing against Brook Lopez, similar kind of styles, but I don't know if that's a benefit for him. Normal Pell's not good at guarding threes. This version can't be helpful. Porter could have some fun. Porter's not really a 3, though. Porter is he is playing in the corner a lot, but he's more of like a 2 guard, I think, and he can play point as well. But yeah, I mean, they don't have anybody to defend anybody. Whatever Cleveland wants to do, they should be able to do for the most part. The issue is just how much motivation is there on a back-to-back for Mobley and Mitchell to press their usage? Do they want to just bust their ass if they just had to play pretty hard against Boston? I mean, they were on the court, I think, that entire game. You're deep into the fourth. So I would have concerns about their motivation today. Vooch had the big game a few back. 8,100 sub price tag. He can have big games. I just don't think it's a priority to get there very much. Milwaukee, I'm getting more sim ownership for Giannis than the field has. But the field will own him 52% of the time. There is so much value. Giannis is basically the only pay-up option you really want to get to on the slate. So Giannis is it. He'll be in a lot of lineups today. Looks pretty good. Oh, shooting threes. Gotcha. Okay. And he is a good 3-point shooter. That's true. For Milwaukee, I think that they're in a good situation here. Pace up spot going against Chicago. I think that we're going to look at the underdog stuff when I get to the unabated portion of things in about 10 minutes. So bear with me on that. But I do run sims here of the unabated data here to get underdog stuff. PrizePicks stuff and DraftKings and FanDuel Sportsbook stuff. So for Giannis in the spot, pace-up situation here. You can see the pace over here, getting about 3 extra possessions in this game. Giannis himself, Chicago, for whatever people thought coming into the year, they're a competitive team. They probably don't get boat raced in the spot, especially how Milwaukee's played on the year. High total in this one as well. But for Giannis, he looks like one of the best players in the slate, and it's easy to get to him. So in that kind of situation, it's almost one of those days where you consider not playing Giannis. The issue, though, is like the only way the spot could be better besides playing Chicago would be Lillard being out. Lillard's in, so that's sort of the downside. But I would say Giannis in this overall matchup, one of the better players in the slate, easy to get to him. So keep that in mind when playing tournaments. It's going to be really easy to get to him no matter what kind of lineup you're playing. Rest of Milwaukee, not a lot to love here. Got 8% Damian Lillard, which I think is fine as Giannis leverage. Everything else here, not the most appealing to me. Indiana, 112.5 on their side. Houston, 119 on their side. Not a lot for me in Indiana. Everybody kind of priced appropriately. Everybody back in as well with Miles Turner expected to go. So nothing to really highlight here. Jarris Walker's questionable. He could get ruled out. That would open up some more minutes for the wing with Ben Shepherd. Maybe Freeman gets a few more minutes after they, whatever reason, wanted to play him last time out. But Indiana, not the most playable team to me. And Alperen Şengün, priority play for the slate, priority play for me as well. He'll be 44% owned today based on Stokastic's ownership currently. I've got him at 45%. Van Vliet, I'm much lower on. Jalen Green, I'm even lower on. I don't get how the field's going to get to Jalen Green 25% of the time. That said, their projection's about a point higher than mine, so I guess I get the logic. Also, just take the note, too, Stokastic has been low on Şengün compared to me for weeks now, and now they're back above me, so I'm not sure if they tweaked something here, but I noticed this is a few different players, so just highlight it. They might have made a little in-season change to how they're producing or projecting things. But besides that, though, Şengün, priority play, not so much Jalen Green for me. But if you're not going to pay down and go cheap, I get going Jalen Green more. I think if you're doing a mid-tier build, Jalen Green makes more sense, but still not crazy about it. Usage has been okay. He's probably due to shoot better at some point. Against Indiana, you certainly can do that, so... but really not great shooting for him on the year for a guy who's shooting that much. And guys, if you appreciate this content, we're going to get to the sims of both prop bet markets and DFS lineups. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Your engagement's going a long way for this brand new channel here. We're 3 weeks in, the numbers moving in the right direction, but they need to go up even more so we get monetized and actually get the algorithm supporting things here more. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I will appreciate you even more if you hit that like button, subscribe, of course, and leave a comment if you watch after the fact as well. And of course, Unabated, $30 off, promo code SPLASH. Check it out at unabated.com/NBA. I'll show you their prop tool in a moment. And Stokastic, 15% off all their data and Sims tools. I'll link in the description for that right now as well. All right, Philadelphia, 113.8 on their side. So Joel Embiid, the big yelling fit. If you were to use his rates from this year, he would look like a much worse player. It actually is about a difference if you use his 2024 rates of about 8 fantasy points. So I bumped him up to his last year rates, kind of just going to let all this high usage stuff come out in the wash. Did not knock McCain down, did not knock Maxey down. The reality is these guys are going to look a lot more like a Chicago does, like a Sacramento does, and everybody's healthy. It's basically going to be a situation where the usage should be closer to like 25 for these guys. If McCain is like a dog and he really presses his usage, he's going to be around 25. Otherwise, maybe he falls to like 20-ish. He's the one who probably can take the biggest chunk off. But as a result, I really don't want any of these guys that much. McCain, I'll take the shot at 33 minutes, 33.7 projection for him is what I have. Stokastic does have him a little bit lower here, about 3 points and change, close to 4 lower. But Embiid, if you want to take a shot, he'll be 2% owned. I don't think it's crazy. You guys, if you haven't heard it, I don't know if you've lived under a rock, if you're an NBA fan, but basically a lot of narrative going around with Philadelphia. They had a team meeting the other day after falling to 2-11. And basically Tyrese Maxey called out Embiid for being late to everything. Joel Embiid acknowledged some accountability, but also said he finds something the offense to not work for him quite that much. They sort of have to figure things out here. Going against Memphis with no real centers left. Jaren Jackson can defend, but he's not like a power center. He can really defend Embiid. Embiid can get going enough here that I think it's worth considering a shot. Me getting 2% sim ownership feels okay. I think I might manually put him in whatever amount of lineups I do. Basically that. Besides that, for Philadelphia, it's just an interesting game to see, but these guys are all priced for situations without Embiid for the most part. McCain is priced as well for no Maxey. Maxey's questionable right now, could still not play. But that's basically how it looks right now for Philadelphia is that these guys are all back in, probably shouldn't play him, but if you're going to play anybody, I think Embiid's okay. Paul George is okay at price. McCain's okay at price. I probably wouldn't try to go that. He hit Embiid with an RKO, just into a pool, hopefully. So it was fun and playful for everybody. Memphis, 109.8 on their side. No Ja Morant still. No Zach Edey for this one as well. So you should see a shot at Brandon Clark getting more minutes. He has spiked as a value play, I think yesterday, in fact. Besides that, though, not lots of love here. Desmond Bane, I updated the rates to include Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane's court time without Ja Morant. Still doesn't give me enough to get there, but I got 5% Bane, 2% Jaren Jackson, my top 150 lineups. Everything else here doesn't look like anything I need. I don't even see a potential tournament winner, really. Maybe Brandon Clark is a value pivot, but even that, I would have a hard time going to against this Philadelphia matchup. Yeah, Smart, doubtful. He wasn't out of the projections yet. He'll make everybody go up a little bit. The issue is like Memphis is too deep, where I don't think there'll be a true beneficiary in my projections, at least. Stokastic might give you more of like Jalen Wells, I guess. Maybe a little Bane will look slightly better, but yeah, Smart, I don't expect to play with him being downgraded to doubtful. He was already doubtful, but he stayed doubtful. Portland, 105.8 here. No DeAndre Ayton. Still, the only player that looks good here is Robert Williams. So if you wanted to make a pivot here, going to Donovan Clingan wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. Clingan has had some good days lately, but Williams is the one they're kind of showcasing for potential trades, it looks like. Williams on the year producing 1.42 fantasy points per minute with pretty good usage rate, pretty good rebound rate, pretty good assist rate. He's not missing shots, which he's going to miss shots at some point, even though all of Robert Williams' shots are basically at the rim. Robert Williams to me looks like the value play that's not from that Cleveland game. So you want to go to him. He's going to be 19% owned. I got him at 61% of my sims. I think he's a very valid play. Oklahoma City on their side, 117.8 implied points. SGA, wish he looked a little bit better. He'll be 9% owned. Jalen Williams looks better to me. Unfortunately, he just had the big outlier day yesterday, so people will chase that one. Lou Dort, 16% owned. I got 9%, not a priority play either. It was just like, I'd rather chase Brandon Boston, rather chase the value plays. I don't see a need to go to some of these mediocre mid-tier guys today. Isaiah Joe out in this one opens up a few more minutes, but really nothing to love here. I think besides Jalen Williams, I'm still very much into, despite the center-only eligibility. New York, 114.8 implied points. Phoenix, 110.3 on their side. Karl Anthony Towns, a priority play for me in every slate. As I mentioned, until he gets to 10K, I'll keep playing him. Probably shouldn't be a blowout here, which is good news for Towns. Maybe a faint chance he could see foul trouble, or I don't think there's any chance they wouldn't play him down the home stretch because Nurkic is probably going to close. So I think Towns is good to get good run here. The matchup should be down pace here. You see a low Knicks pace, 95.7. Technically a pace up for them going against Phoenix, though, at 97. But combined, the pace should be pretty low, about 96 possessions. So Towns in the half court, beating Nurkic up, I think is fine to me. Like his role on the year. I have to point out, though, I am high on Towns, low on Brunson. Stokastic has them more evened out. Lower on Towns, higher on Brunson. So I'm riding the hot hand with Towns. You may choose to go the other way and go Brunson's way at much less ownership, but frankly, neither guy that highly owned. Very easy to get to Towns, and in fact, you can build lineups with Giannis and Towns, is what I saw before the show. Hartenstein's questionable. He would hurt the overall minutes run. I don't think he'd be playable, though. I don't know what you expect him to play. But yeah, if he were to get ruled in, he would shave probably some of the lesser minutes. Like, I don't think you see, Kendrick Williams could still play some other spots. Probably Kendrick comes out to play a little bit more. Dylan Jones, I'd say, might just lose his minutes outright. But really, I can't tell you how they're going to play Hartenstein because we don't really know. And I don't really want to make that guess when I don't know. Phoenix on their side, Devin Booker going to get 11% ownership. Grayson Allen going to get 15. I don't really love either guy that much. Devin Booker, the rates I have with Beal and Durant out are just not good enough to get there. Booker, though, has, I think, done okay fantasy-wise, even though it's not fully showing here. He's been averaging 1.2 fantasy points per minute going back to last year without Durant, without Beal, and without Eric Gordon's the other one I took off as well. So he hasn't been fantastic. He's been pretty good, though. So I have him at 1.2 fantasy points per minute today. It's just not enough. Stokastic has him about 3 points higher, a little bit less than that. So you want to go to Booker, you can. Not one for me that much. Grayson Allen, same thing. $4,300 salary. I think the value in the other games is better. I guess if somebody else got ruled out, like I don't know who would be on Phoenix, maybe Grayson Allen could become a better play. But you have so much good value in that Cleveland-New Orleans game. I'd rather take my shot at that 10 times out of 10, frankly. Atlanta, 115.8 implied points here. I forgot there's so many fucking games in the slate. I spent so much time on the first one, and there's fucking 7 more. Atlanta, 115.8 implied points. Golden State, 123.8. In this game, there's really nothing relevant to me. Jalen Johnson still looks okay. He's been one player who the usage has been solidified. The rebound rate's been solidified. He's doing well. Trae Young, weird game last time out where he had like almost 20 assists, but shot really terribly. I don't know what's going on with Trae Young, but he's not projecting that well for me right now at 40 fantasy points overall today. I didn't do anything to these rates. I'm letting them stand. Having guys like Bogdanovich come in just take a little bit off the top of guys like a Trae Young's projection, because Trae was basically so ball dominant. Now you have Bogdan back in, you have Hunter back in, you have enough guys there kind of coming together, and Dyson Daniels doing well enough as well, I suppose. That Trae to me just doesn't project like he should be priced here anymore. I think he should be closer to, honestly, where Jalen Johnson is. I think it'd be a good price tag for Trae Young. But the upside's still there for him. It just doesn't look good to me right now. Golden State, 123.8 implied points for them. Steph Curry looks like the one play to me here. 14% sim ownership compared to 15% for the field. Everything else I'm under on. Steph, though, has been a monster on the year, shooting really well, even by his standards, at 65% true shooting. 1.5 fantasy points a minute rounded up. I have him right around that today. He's beaten up Trae Young historically. If you care about that stuff, I don't think you should, but he's put up, like, I think over 40 real life points in a lot of these spots. There's some Underdog tweet that went out today. So for Steph Curry, I think a great tournament play on the slate. If you don't play Giannis, going to Steph, I think is a really nice late night hammer to have. So would have no issue with that on the slate. Last game on the slate, Orlando and the Clippers. So Orlando, Franz Wagner still looks pretty good. He'll only be 13% owned today. Price tag's come up enough. He's been killing it since Paolo Banchero went out. Really no issue going his way, even though it's easy to find money to get to Giannis. And it's hard to imagine him beating Giannis in projection. But if you were to get him and Curry, and then you're like, as opposed to just getting Giannis and somebody mid-tier, or God forbid Giannis in a value, I think that's a pretty good approach for a tournament today. Jalen Suggs has been quiet lately. Feels like he's losing work to everybody. Anthony Black has been assisting really well in the year, 26% assist rate. I think that's hurting Suggs a good amount, is not having as much dominant ball, lead ball handler time. So for Suggs, he could pop at any point. He looked good earlier in the year, so I don't want to fully throw him out with the bathwater. But Franz Wagner is looking amazing. Anthony Black is looking better rate-wise. It's hard for me to get to Suggs in this slate. And Wendell Carter's still in the projection set, but Goga Bitadze should benefit from Carter being out again. He was ruled out, but they didn't update the stuff before I did the show. Clippers on their side. James Harden still looks good to me. I'm getting 13% compared to the field's 4%. I am not as high on Kevin Porter. Field looks like they'll be owning him about 37% of the time. I got him at 12%. Zubac, I have double the field on as well. No Norman Powell for this game expected after he went out early last night. So good situation here for Harden, I think. Harden's rates have been pretty good over the last year without having both Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and also Norman Powell out. Tends to dominate the ball a little bit more. Harden's got 1.44 fantasy points per minute, 40% usage, and a 33% assist rate without all those guys in the court. So people will sleep on Harden tonight. Hard to pay that price tag when you have Steph Curry looking good as well. But I do think Harden will be a little bit under-owned, so me getting 4x the field of him feels pretty good. But that's everything on this slate, guys. You know what we do now? We have to go show some love for our friends over at Unabated. And guys like Tyler here just want some sweet pick'ems. So let's see what we can get here, and let's play this video to show you all about Unabated's conditional NBA projections right now. Look at these sick graphs. You like numbers? You like data piled up on top of itself? Well, this is the site for you. Dynamic conditional projections, what we talk about. Everybody gets rolled out. Unabated covers both sides of the equation. Real-time NBA news. You can pull this up on screen. The Badge Bros are doing it right before the stream. Don't tune out now. We're going to look at really sick EV in a moment. These graphs. We got graphs. There's the graphs. I got too excited about the graphs. Community. You want community. There's community here on Splash. There's even more community Unabated. And they bet really well as well. Chats. Count your money.
You know the crowd is ready. Get ready.
All right, there we go. Sorry, I made a commitment, guys, to run that video every day. It's become a bit within itself. That's the name of the game here. But let's simulate these out. Let's find some pick'ems for our boy Tyler, or pick'em selections for our boy Tyler, as well as all you guys out there. Again, showing the primary books here on this screen now that should be switched over to. And let's get into it. Let me scroll down. The best betting tool, though, I would say right now to get bets in fast and use proprietary projection data is something that I think is you're going to get it Unabated. So biggest cosign I can give, big reason why I want to work with them this year. They have unique data led by Justin Fan, who you've seen before at Basketball Monster. Fucking what? Log me out. No. Do I have to run the video again now? They didn't like my plug. They said, log that fucker out. He's not doing a good job whoring. It's going to come back, guys. Bear with me a second here. All right. Putting on. This is exactly how you do it. put on unabated projections. If you wanted to get a view of player stats in or out, you could do that. I'm just going to take out all the questionable guys like we always do here. That's so many questionable guys, though. That wasn't my fault. I can't control getting offed out. It's not on me. I've had a clean show today. Besides maybe spending too much time on the worst basketball game in NBA history. But the most important DFS game on the slate. All right, here we go. We got some big EV on some of these. I'm not surprised at number one if that is what I just saw. Brandon Boston, okay. Big money on Brandon Boston. 43% EV on Brandon Boston right now, over 14.5 points. That's available right now in PrizePicks. Looks like Underdog has updated it to 18.5. So that is a mispriced line right now in PrizePicks if you're playing to pick them on there. Looks like DraftKings and FanDuel pulled the Brandon Boston line, so that's one of the highest EVs we have seen based off the sim EVs here of Unabated's projection. So 43% EV for Brandon Boston over 14.5 points. Brandon Clark, a big day for Brandon's here. Shout out to all the Brandons out there. 16.4% EV for Brandon Clark over 7.5 points. That one playable on PrizePicks, rounded up 8% EV. You're also getting 8.3% EV on DK Sportsbook, it looks like, at plus 105 odds. And on FanDuel, you're getting over 7.5 for that one. So FanDuel minus 115 odds over 7.5 gets you 16.4% EV on Brandon Clark over 7.5 points, that is. Brooke Lopez, 15.9% EV, over 12.5 points today. Plus 105 odds. Again, you see a plus money bet. This is the first one you should take on the screen, I think, even though this one's got great EV for Pick'em. But 15.9% EV for Brooke Lopez at plus over 12.5 points, plus 105 odds on DK Sportsbook. It looks like that one's been taken off of Underdog. Underdog really killed. I think Underdog might be using Unabated to find their inofficial lines, would be my guess, based on these ones coming out. Bobby Portis, playable over 12.5 points, minus 120 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Anything that's too far under an 8% sim ROI, probably don't want to do that. Oh, they pulled Boston. Oh, boy, maybe some Celtics getting ruled out. I don't know. We'll see. Wait, pulled Boston. What? Wait, Boston's not playing tonight, are they? What are you fucking with me? Can you just give me wrong information to fuck with me on this video? Rebounds up next. Let's find some prop lines here. There's a few good ones. Just want to make sure it's grabbing all of them. Sometimes you got to scroll all the way down to get everything to update. All right, here we go. Wait, did they pull Brandon Boston? Oh, man. Oh, shit. Antonio Reeves season is definitely afoot. Oh, that's fucking crazy. How are they not going to play Brandon Boston? Anyway, I think Antonio Reeves, I said it. Okay. Antonio Reeves lock button play. Just fucking lock him. Antonio Reeves, 3K minimum salary. He's now the only real guard left. He and Jeremiah Robinson Earl, I guess, are like the only dudes. All right. Oh, they pulled Boston. Not in the game. I swear to God, Consigliere, I love you, buddy. Let's take a 5. This is tough, man. I know you remember on the other channel, 5-minute timeout. 5-minute timeout for Consigliere. Not in the game. Okay, thank you. They pulled the line. They can pull the line. That's fine. Fucking don't spook me on players getting pulled when I'm doing the show. We just had the injury report come out. It's 4:38. It just came out. Trace Jackson, Dave, Evan Mobley. Fucking let's get back on track. Ooh, Consigliere. Great contributions to the football channel. NBA, you got to make it up now. 16.1% EV on under 9 rebounds. Minus 118 odds on PrizePicks. So if you lost on the Brandon Boston line, now you got an Evan Mobley line to hit. Under 9 rebounds for him. And again, he could get pulled very quickly today. Even with Brandon Boston playing, which fucking gave me the fits. Donovan Mitchell got me so excited for Antonio Reeves too. That's a double whammy. Consigliere. 14.6% EV for Donovan Mitchell on this one. Over 3.5 rebounds. Minus 110 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. I fucking didn't. I see things in chat, especially breaking news kind of things on a day where everybody's getting ruled out. That's where my brain goes. So please, word choice. Brooke Lopez, 12.3% EV on over 4.5 rebounds. That one's on PrizePicks. But cuss playable on DraftKings Sportsbook, but I wouldn't do it. Kobe White, over 3.5 rebounds, 12% EV on FanDuel Sportsbook, plus 134 odds on that one. Kobe White here, he's projected for 3.6 rebounds. The line is at over 3.5, so plus money. Good bet to take at 12% EV on FanDuel Sportsbook. Trace Jackson Davis, Underdog really killed every line here in a way that nobody else did. The Badge Bros must have tipped them off because Badge Bros are doing unabated stuff too. Anyway, Trace Jackson Davis under 4.5 rebounds, 11% EV on FanDuel Sportsbook. You'd also get 9.5% EV on DK under 4.5 rebounds, a plus 100 odds there, but more plus money on FanDuel. That plus 02 actually does matter for your bankroll. Besides that, looks like you got some EV on over 3.5 on Underdog for rebounds for Damian Lillard. He's projected for 4.7 rebounds today. Minus 148 odds on that one with 10% EV. Draymond Green, value on under 7 rebounds. Minus 118 odds on PrizePicks. For Draymond Green, he's projected for 6.6 rebounds today. Nothing too sexy, though. I want to get Tyler his Underdog Pick'ems. They really fucking... they really nerfed every single one that would look good. Like, they're all crossed out. Like, what is Underdog doing? I know they hired a new pricing person. I did see that on LinkedIn recently. So who knows? 5:30 deeper dive. Yeah, I'll be on the deeper dive at 5:30 on Stokastic. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully no one will scare me about Brandon Boston again. All right. What do we got here? Just give me more, please. All right, there we go. That should pull in everything. All right. Eve Missy. So we talked about him before. Questionable today. There is value in under 2.5 rebounds. So you could take this one if he doesn't play or if he plays and gets pulled early. You could win that way as well. 21.4% EV on Eve Missy. Plus 126 odds on DK Sportsbook. Jaren Jackson. Really big EVs on the assist lines. 20.6% EV on under 1.5 assists for Jaren Jackson today. He projects for 1.49. You probably don't need to see the odds history. But 20.6% EV on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. Tristan Da Silva on DraftKings Sportsbook too. A 16.9% EV on under 1.5 assists for him. A plus 135 odds on that one. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 12.4% EV on over 5.5 assists for him. That one's on FanDuel Sportsbook, minus 130 odds. Vucevic, 10% EV on over 2.5 assists, minus 134 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Giddey, plus money, plus EV, 9.5% EV, over 6.5 assists at plus 120 odds. And Zach LaVine, value on the over 3.5 on PrizePicks looks good. 9.3% EV for Zach LaVine. PRA is last. Then we'll run some DFS sim lineups here. And hopefully Consigliere will come back and not be mad at me. But I had to draw a line. I got to show. It's a brand new channel here. You poke me in the zoo and I fucking get confused. You got to go. You got to take a break. You can come back better than ever, hopefully. That's that. All right, Brandon Boston, his line not pulled on this one for PRAs on PrizePicks. 46% EV for Brandon Boston, over 23.5 PRAs is the line on PrizePicks. That's crazy EV there. Looks like it's still playable on Underdog, a little bit under where you want to be sim-wise, but 6.5% EV on over 28.5 on Underdog. Wow, so a five line difference here, 5 PRA difference for Brandon Boston right now, comparing PrizePicks to Underdog. That is a huge inefficiency again for PrizePicks. Brooke Lopez, 11.7% EV, over 18.5 for your PrizePicks pick'em. Looks like it's not playable on DK Sportsbook or FanDuel. Giannis, getting some value on the PRA over for him, over 50.5 PRAs. So you want to look for the guy to lock your shit around today. You're getting value in over 50.5 according to Unabated. 11.4% EV, playable on PrizePicks and Underdog as well. Over 50.5 PRAs for Giannis. And that means basically he'll get you, I mean, that right there, if he hits that over as expected, it would be then, what's at least 60 fantasy points, depending how many blocks and steals he gets. Just Giannis is your pay up guy. That's why he's a chalk. Damian Lillard, over 36 PRAs, 6.8% EV, not really in the range you want to go to, but you could play it if you wanted. Anything else here avoiding me somehow? Derek Jones here, over 12.5 PRAs. That one's playable at Underdog. Looks like it just got sucked up here. Yeah, there we go. Over 12.5 PRAs, playable at Underdog as well. Work Spags can't always keep up. I was telling the chat, sorry. It's okay. I just rely on the chat as a co-pilot, Consigliere, and you know that. So when you say something like Brandon Boston got pulled, I'm like, that sounds like getting pulled from the game. But I get where you're going. It's okay. You were a teachable moment now for everybody, much like Chase University and NXT, and saw how that went yesterday. Not many of you will get that reference, but those of you who did probably really love it. All right, let's build some lineups here on Stokastic. Going to build 5,000 lineups here. We'll sum them out 10,000 times to see what we get here. Of course, Stokastic, get 15% off. Link in the description. Unabated, we talked about $30 off the monthly packages at Unabated, and that includes their discounted one. So check it out, unabated.com/NBA, promo code SPLASH. And Stokastic, 15% off. Does support the show directly. You click that little affiliate link. All right, there you go. So I'm glad you're the one that knew about Chase U. It's sad about Chase U. They'll have a new cast. It'll be like Saved by the Bell, the new class. And if you're watching live here, I think honestly we've hit a record for live viewers today. So shout out to all you guys tuning in. I do these videos every Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. right before I do either Stokastic or nothing. So hit the like button, subscribe down below, leave a comment. Your engagement go a long way for this brand new channel I'm building up, which Stokastic is now kindly promoting in their description. So I appreciate my producer, Jordan Klein over there, the best producer in the world named Jordan Klein. Let's simulate this out here. Let's see what we get. I believe today is a flat 30% to first in that $5 tournament on DraftKings. So let's see what we get with our top ROI lineups. This is the process. And one thing, guys, to talk about here sometimes, if you want to get away from the field, you don't want to just take the first set of lineups you get here, feel free to go to the projections, knock down some players, knock out the guys that have really high exposures that you don't want to get in your 150 set. One way to get different on a sim that, frankly, I think a lot of the products don't talk about very much. NXT has been good since 2018. Oh, you are missing a new era. I loved NXT back in the day too. Once paid a cool $1,000 to go sit ringside for Shinsuke Nakamura's debut during that WrestleMania weekend for NXT. But it's an enjoyable show. Honestly, I like it more than AEW most weeks, which is sad to say. But that's Pro Wrestling Talk with Spags, my brand new Splash Play Pro Wrestling channel coming out, which would be the dream. That and the video games channel. The last two shores I have to conquer. Once we get to 1,000 subs here, let's see where we go. That's going to be Splash Play MLB time. Watch another new channel. All right, let's compile these results here. It's doing, obviously, everything in real time. We'll see what we get. The Stokastic data. Important to note, a few guys they did not update for yet. It looks like it hasn't changed on this either. So maybe a little bit out of date, but not enough that I think it's going to impact you guys. Your top ROI lineup right now for Stokastic: Craig Porter Jr., Devin Booker, Jamal Cain, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Yves Missy, Ty Jerome, Jake LaRavia, Alperen Şengün. That's a fun lineup. Again, they have Craig Porter projected pretty well. Devin Booker, a little bit of a tournament play, and not fading Giannis feels like it's on the menu. Me doing a froggy splash. Hey, if we ever get the Splash Play Pro Wrestling channel, I'll keep it in mind. Splash Play Pubic channel, that'd be an odd one. Feels weird not be able to super chat your thanks. Thank you. I appreciate you, Tyler. Super chats are not on the menu yet here until we get our first, what is it, like 5,000 watch hours I have to get and 500 subs. So it's a climb here, but hey, we're doing the work. We'll get there. Craig Porter Jr., number 2 ROI lineup. It's Porter Jr., Donovan Mitchell, Desmond Bane, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Alperen Şengün, Ty Jerome, Draymond Green, and Fred VanVleet. So you're seeing the obvious value chalk here. Craig Porter Jr., Ty Jerome, and they're putting more unique players around it. Jamal Cain, also very obvious value chalk. Craig Porter Jr., your number 3 ROI lineup as well. Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Cain, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Alperen Şengün, Ty Jerome, Draymond Green, and SGA makes this one for the number 3 lineup. Number 4 is Porter Jr. Once again, Devin Booker, Jamal Cain, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Şengün, Ty Jerome, Desmond Bane, and Steph Curry. And number 5 is, this is Ty Jerome again, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Cain, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Şengün, Lillard, Robert Williams, and Fred VanVleet. So you're getting Ty Jerome in all the top 5 lineups. You're getting Craig Porter in 4 out of the 5. You're getting Jamal Cain in 4 out of the 5. Very obvious value in this one. You're getting Robinson Earl as well in 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 5 as well. That's your value. If you want to trust the sim data, Craig Porter Jr., Ty Jerome, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, and Jamal Cain as well. That's the 4, I guess. Top 150 lineups and the highest ROI. Let's see. Got a 14% ROI on Donovan Mitchell himself. Again, feels a little bit underprojected for what the opportunity is. The ball's going to be in his hands the most. Does he play full run? Probably not. If they blow out New Orleans, though, it probably does come at the hands of the good players. And one guy, by the way, I did mention, which I did put in the VIP Discord before the show, Luke Travers. I'm just going to plant the smallest of a flag for him. He's projected to get 18 minutes from Stokastic. Been a monster in the G League, been a monster in the very small sample size of court time he's had. Luke Travers, another 3K guy who's not going to come up here, but I forgot to mention before, and seeing Mitchell reminded me. Luke Travers, plant that little bit of a flag for him. Especially if he gets the surprise start, then fucking play him. But if he's even coming off the bench, if he gets 18 minutes, he might put up 30 fantasy points. Jake LaRavia, $4,500 salary, getting 9% ROI here based on the Stokastic top 150 lineups. Desmond Bane, $7,200 salary, getting 2% ROI. So Bane here doesn't project fantastically well. Has had some good days in the past without Ja Morant. The rates look pretty good without Ja Morant as well. Has averaged 1.2 fantasy points per minute with 28% usage and a 27% assist rate. I still didn't project him like crazy, but I did give him those rates. So he's a solid tournament play, I guess. And Frankly, a game that should be competitive against Philadelphia, you would think. Top exposures in the top 150. You're getting Craig Porter Jr. in 87% of the top 150 lineups. Ty Jerome in 80%. Şengün at 75. Jamal Cain in 55. You're getting positive leverage on all these guys. Jake LaRavia in 27. So your core here, again, is these guys here. Porter Jr., Jerome, Cain, Şengün, and Robinson Earl is not as highly exposed, but he was in a lot of the top ROI lineups. He's only at 17% overall, but he was in a lot of the top ones. So Robinson Earl actually not chalk in the Sims for Stokastic, but important to note here, they actually have him under the field, but he's in the best lineups. That's weird to see. Most leveraged plays for Stokastic's top 150. You are getting Alperen Şengün, 32% leverage. Jake LaRavia, 20% leverage. Desmond Bain, 17%. Jamal Cain, 14%. Ty Jerome, 14% rounded up. Mitchell, 13% rounded up. Robert Williams, who to me would be a priority play, 13% rounded up. Cat, 11% more. Love Cat always. SGA, you're getting 11% more. So I think you're getting pivots around Giannis a little bit with that. What's the Giannis exposure? Giannis only 27% of lineups in the Sims. That's actually very noteworthy. You're getting negative 37% leverage on Giannis. So, man, I see the PRA market for Giannis, the pace-up matchup versus Chicago. I would want to just jam in Giannis, but the Sims are telling you, hey, there's enough guys at 9K that you could pay up for. So pay up for, let's see what they're doing with that. So you're getting much less Giannis. You're getting more SGA, more Embiid, though not a lot more, only 6% exposure compared to 3.5% for the field. Getting more Harden, not getting more Trae Young because he doesn't project well enough, I guess. Getting more Towns, getting more Donovan Mitchell. So they're making you pay up for guys 8,500 to 10K, let's say, as pivots away from Giannis. So that's interesting to see. I still think Giannis is a good play, but maybe just capping your exposure. Half your lineups with him, half out. That's basically it. Hartenstein being in, does it change Towns for you at all? Hartenstein being in, I don't think so. I think for Towns in general, wait, why did it change Towns? Hartenstein is not playing, what? Hartenstein is playing versus Portland. So no, that would not affect my Towns exposure. Maybe emotional support for Towns. Who knows? Not so much Curry. Looks like we are not consigliere, man. It's like he's like testing me to test my knowledge base. That's where we are at with you right now. It's okay, bud. We're gonna get there. Keep trying. It's all we all have our fuckers, me included. Steph Curry getting 17% compared to the field's 11. So a little bit of exposure for Steph. Again, anybody who's not Giannis, it seems like you're gonna get more of. Besides the guys who just don't project that well. So hey, you and me both, I guess. So my splash plays for the day, the thing that we have to do. Honestly, let me go back to the sheet real fast because I'm going to take a quick look and see if there's any big discrepancies I have because we didn't show my rank order here. Let's do it this way. Data, sort range. Going to sort by my projections real fast here. My highest projected plays, so these would also technically be splash plays on a slate where you could afford anybody. I have Giannis 12 points higher projected than Karl-Anthony Towns. Towns is my number 2. Harden is the only other guy I have over 50. Everybody else under 50 and looks good. So I guess the spend up guys for me on the slate would technically be Giannis, Towns, and Harden. Doesn't mean they have the highest ceilings. In particular, Harden's matchup I feel like could be a little bit more defensively minded, given that it's Orlando and the Clippers. They both play at low pace. Orlando's defense is still pretty good. But I still think Harden hitting that 50 fantasy points is more likely to happen than not. So those would be my top 3. In terms of value plays, let's sort by that as well. Elfrid Payton is not playing. Luke Travers, again, not really a play. If you're going to play a bunch of lineups in that $5 tournament, I'd throw in a shot at Luke Travers just because at 3K min salary, he might put up 30 fantasy points if he gets 18 minutes. Like I really feel strongly about that based on what I've seen of him and his production so far. It's not just my eyes, it is data. Craig Porter Jr., top value. Antonio Reeves, top value. Would have looked a lot better if Brandon Boston got ruled out. Ty Jerome, a top value. Robert Williams, a top value. Oops, don't do that. Jamal Cain, also a top value, but he's incredible chalk. These guys you don't get this much value on a slate usually. And if I were to question any of it, it would be Reeves and Travers just for the minutes. But Jerome's going to be out there enough. Cain's going to be out there enough. They're all in good situations here. And another 3K guy, Buzelis for the Bulls, maybe playable. But if you're going to avoid all the chalk, Buzelis, I think at 3K could be playable today. But there we go, guys. That's it. So that's hopefully a good look at the slate. I'll be back at Stokastic with my pal Eric Lindquist at 5:30. Make sure to check that out. Stokastic, you just search on YouTube and you'll get there. I'll be on the deeper dive for that one. Please support our sponsors. Again, well, first of all, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new around here, especially. I do these shows Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern every day. And my goal here is to give you the most insights based upon the data that I build, my own projection set, stochastic data, the ownership, the unabated data as well, and the prop markets to give you the best way to win money on a DFS slate / using, pick'ems and all the other DFS adjacent stuff. That's my goal here every day for you, and I hope I do it well. And then from, besides yesterday, frankly, that was the worst day we've had. It was on a real heater before that, but do it here every day as best I can. That's always a promise I will give to you if you are a part of this channel or our NFL channel at Splash Play Pod. But hit that like button, subscribe. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash, promo code SPLASH. Stokastic, 15% of all their data and their tools. Link in the description for that. Unabated, $30 off, promo code SPLASH. And the solver, I think the link in the description for that too if you want to build an optimizer. That's what I do is I optimize lineups and put them in a sim. So that's another way to build. But I appreciate all you guys being here. Make sure to gamble responsibly, even though it is always money time here on Splash Play. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Thank you to the chat, even Consigliere, keeping me on my toes, making me earn it here. I'll see you guys at 5:30 on Stokastic. If not, I'll see you here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Enjoy your days. And of course, good luck. And let's hope nothing else weird happens. Unless it's profitable, makes us money. Okay, bye-bye.